Welcome back to Spitballin Cards. In today's video, we'll be talking about Kurt's card care and PSA deactivating some of his orders. On top of that, we're going to be discussing Heritage and giving a little bit of a set review and discussing what you could look for when you're opening Heritage, since it is a very tough set compared to other sets and identifying specific cards. We have a little bit smaller cast today. You have me. My name is Scott. We also have Ty and we have Chris on today's episode. Jeff and Phil aren't here, but they'll be back next week. So if you like them better than us, stay tuned for next week. But let's just jump into this right away. And this can be a very quick discussion. I thought it was worth discussing just because we talked about it recently, about Kurt's card care and soaking cards and building corners and all these different things that were like really taboo in the hobby. And then they kind of were accepted. But now we saw that PSA actually decertified his entire order. And the way this came out was Kurt, he actually did some work on a 1953 Jackie Robinson. And this 1953 Jackie Robinson, he soaked it. I don't know what else he did, but he at least soaked it, and it got a better grade than it was previously, or it would have gotten in the previous condition. And PSA has come out, and they have said that it is not a real grade. It is now altered, and it's not a card that deserves a genuine grade. So very interesting situation. Obviously, we talked about the morality of it, and it's kind of nice that PSA is going to just decide what is and isn't okay. Maybe they shouldn't be. Like, how do we go about that? Other industries, comic books and art, it's more common. It's like, is this who we want to decide everything? But either way, PSA, according to their standards, now thinks that it's altered. So Ty, Chris, what are your thoughts about this recent news? Does it change the way you feel at all, or do you feel basically the same? What do you think, Chris?
I just feel like, it's just really, really dumb. Like what Kurt's card care does for cards, like I don't really have an issue with it, but this to me was just like, I feel bad calling someone stupid, but what he did is really stupid. Like, he got away with it. Like, he kind of pulled a fast one, if you will, and he got away with it. And then he just couldn't let it lie. He had to broadcast it, and it bit him right in the ass. And it just seems crazy to me. It made me think of the movie Goodfellas. Like, after they pull the Lufthansa heist, you know, one guy in the group goes out and buys like a fancy new sports car. And it like, well, that guy I think ends up in a landfill. But I mean, like, it almost undoes all the good stuff. Like, it just seems nuts to me. Like, you won. Like, just keep your mouth shut and don't make a big deal. When I saw the video, and I was laughing, Jeff and I were laughing. I'm like, this is going to hurt him. And I'm glad PSA called him on it. Like, if they're fully aware that a card's been altered, like, they have to do something. Like, I think they're fine with the kind of see no evil, hear no evil approach. Like, they don't want to have to get into this, like what's been altered and what isn't to a certain point. But I mean, their hands were tied here and they had to do something. And I'm glad they did. I'm glad they did.
Yeah, I agree with you. Ty, what do you think?
I'm not of the opinion that certain parts of this, we've talked about the distinction. Like, I think it's more restoration, the soaking aspect and other things. I differentiate between soaking cards and sort of resuscitating them versus trimming them and recoloring them. And I don't personally have a problem with it, but obviously PSA is taking a stand. One thing that'll be really interesting, I think, is Jeff, on the Jeff Wilson podcast, he has kind of an exclusive interview with Ryan Hogue coming out, where there's going to be more discussion about this topic and some additional information shared by Ryan on their overall opinion and some of the things they're going to be doing to potentially crack down on this. So I think everybody will be interested to see what Ryan has to say about it. Obviously, there was a lot of pressure put on PSA kind of through social media to take a stand one way or the other. Like, are you okay with this or are you not? They came out with a message pretty shortly thereafter and we're like, we're not okay with it. And now this has happened. And I think there's going to be more steps. A big question for me then will be, are people going to pivot? Now that SGC is owned by collectors, are they going to be taking a similar stand, a similar approach, especially in the vintage space? Beckett, who's now trying to reinvent themselves or maybe just restate themselves, are they going to have some kind of opinion on this? I don't know. This is like the next thing that's coming out. PSA tends to be on the forefront of technology when it comes to this kind of stuff. So it'll be really interesting to see what Ryan has to say and who else gets kind of caught in the process. I for one think, I don't know. I personally don't like it. I know some people are like, I hate this whole process. Maybe it's better off without it. Maybe we should just be purists with the cards and send them in the way they are, even if they're jacked up. And jackied up, no pun intended. So
good one, Ty. That can be the thumbnail, jackied up.
yeah.
The one thing though is I feel like, you know, in World War II, when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, and that's kind of what got us into the war, it kind of feels like all this stuff with the Victor Wembanyama was kind of maybe like that Pearl Harbor moment where now PSA is paying attention because they got slandered and dragged. And I think there is a real chance that they start developing tech to identify alterations of at least things they deem as alterations, soaking, wiping down, all these different things. And so it's gonna be interesting to see if that happens. And I have to imagine Kurt, other people who use Kurt have shown exactly how they do it. And so if PSA can see that and they know exactly how they're going about it, maybe they can find new ways to identify those alterations in their view. So up to you to decide how you feel about it. I think even on the show, we have different opinions, which is great. It's always nice to have different thoughts. But as of right now, it's definitely not okay in PSA's eyes. And it feels like, well, SGC being a part of collectors as well, not okay in their eyes. I don't know what BGS is up to, but I would assume if they could identify it, they also would feel the same way. I know CGC does because I've spoken to them. So
I feel like it's worth noting that was our first, Pearl Harbor reference.
Was that too deep? Was that too deep?
It's been like 7 months, and now we're getting some real deep American history cuts, and I think it's important that our viewers have a little bit of knowledge thrown at them periodically. But that sounds like you just made the thumbnail, though.
We are going to talk about heritage today, so
that's right.
That's a great segue. Yeah. So in the next part, any final thoughts on this whole situation, or are you just interested to see what happens? So I'm not a big fan of everything that he does, but I don't think it's coming from a malicious place, Ty, like you're saying. Either. So like where he's doing this, I don't think he's trying to screw someone, make more money. I mean, we all want our cards to be worth as much as they can.
I think he's very passionate about it. Yeah. And I mean, what he's doing, it takes effort. It takes patience. Like to me, I've even looked at it and I'm like, I don't know if I'd have the patience for all this, like, and just the nerve of it. And he seems to really enjoy it. So, and I think he's got some background in like broader industries doing this type of work, which is why he knows how to do it. But I don't know.
Passion doesn't always mean that it's right, though. You know, so it's nice. Like there's a third party that says if it is or isn't. That's kind of what we have to listen to, unfortunately. So
sounds like a January 6th reference. I will say that like if you are buying vintage and the price hits like 4 digits, I would highly recommend, and you guys may or may not agree, but check that certification on the PSA website before you hit that buy it now, or before you bid. Make sure it's still active and it's still there.
That's a really good call out. It'll be interesting if they can develop this tech that we're talking about. If certs moving forward from a specific date are going to be worth more or not, because we know for 100% certainty that those cards hadn't been messed with. But we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, I agree. Make sure, especially with vintage, your card was not decertified, because that is brutal. That's brutal. I think they guarantee and protect you, but still it can be brutal.
Probably.
All right. Well, let's talk about Heritage. So Heritage, one of the more fun sets every year. I have a fond place for Heritage, even though it can be the worst, I should say, ROI of any product opening. You can do really, really well with Heritage, and you can find some great hidden treasures, or you can just get absolutely throttled by Heritage. There's not really an in-between a lot of the time. It's a very large set, 500 cards. I think some of those are short prints, but 500 base cards essentially. And then a bunch of really random variations. I know Ty is going to show those and go over them a little bit. And in there's some winners and some losers on what those variations are. So what we want to do is share our thoughts on what we like and what we don't like. So Ty, do you want to pull up your screen and start discussing the variations?
Yeah, sure. Let me go ahead and do that. So one of the things, there's several different variations within the Heritage checklist. And even when you look at the checklist, I'll just pop this open and share my entire.
While you're doing that, Ty, can I say one thing really quick?
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of like collectors that like Heritage, and just maybe collectors from the 70s and 80s, but this is the year people have been looking forward to because of the 75 design. That design just gets people fired up. Like it's an absolutely beautiful set, the original set. So hopes were very high when this Heritage set was released. All right.
Yeah. I will say with that, the reason I love 2018 so much is because I love the 1969 set, and it just fits so well with all those rookies. So I think it does matter in like actual regards to collectability of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. So when you're on like Beckett's site, for example, they break down base and then variations. So what's a little bit confusing right out of the chute is you have a certain set of parallels, as they call them, in here that they're not calling variations, they're calling parallels: white border, red border, black and white image, flip stock. And then you get into the variation section, and they've had this whole checklist because it's not every player. So you have color swaps, and then you have errors on just 2 of the players. And then you, of course, have image variations, and you have missing facsimile signature and all these things. I'll give Topps credit. They started to put more detail on the back of these on some of the cards to make it easier to know what you have. So this one, however, is a Christian Yelich, and this is just his base card. So it's yellow. Take note of the yellow on the top and the blue on the bottom. And then when I shift over, this is the color swap, and it's red and yellow. But when we look at the back of the card, it does say color. So thank you to Topps for actually putting color above the number so that it's, you know, it's apparent, because unless you have this one even stacked on top of the other card, and even if you did, you might not notice if you don't know what you're looking for that these are different cards. They did the same thing on this year. I believe white borders are new just this year. And on the back of the card, you can see right here, it's a little blurry, white border, which it's pretty obvious on that one that it's a white border on the front of the card. But then what gets me is for flip stock, these are like some of the hardest ones to actually know that it's anything special. And this is a flip stock card of Rojas. And on the back, it doesn't say flip stock. There's no, you have to actually, I believe, go down to look at the code, which is 717. Whereas if you scroll down on this one, that's too blurry. Let's scroll down on this one and see if we can see on the bottom of the code with the Yelich. And that one, nope, that one's 717. So they don't actually say flip stock, and apparently the code is the same. So it's really confusing. One of the guys on my team who's not, let's say, baseball first in collecting, but has been starting to get more into it, was, you know, he actually was adding Heritage, the set, to Market Movers, to our database. And he's like, you know what, I really want to just rip a box. This seems like a cool product. And like by the time he was 2/3 of the way through the box, I could tell he was just like stressed out. He's like, I don't even know like if I've hit anything good, because some of these say things and then they don't. And then we found a card, a random card that was turned over backwards, and it had a different code on it that didn't seem to we stared at the card for like 5 minutes trying to figure out what was different about it, and we could not figure it out. We looked at the checklist, and he just like threw it into the common pile and was like, I don't know, I give up. So that's the kind of like Heritage I love as a product. I think it's great, but you do get a lot of base cards. You don't get a ton of hits, and you might hit something without even realizing it, which is kind of frustrating.
Yeah, it's like Heritage homework in a sense. Yeah. Like every card you and those flip stock things, like I'll tell you right now, I would never notice that ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have had, they do feel different, and I've had people like notice it right away when they slide through, and sometimes they're separated from the brick of the package and things, but it's a little tricky.
Yeah. Heritage is a set builder's dream, I feel like, right? There's not like or a nightmare. It's not a huge investment set for majority of the cards, but people love putting the set together.
Yeah, it's going to look great in a binder. If you're a set builder that uses binders, like this is one that's always great to flip through. I will say one thing I love about Heritage is in terms of their hobby box prices, it's like probably the most reasonably priced Topps products. That looks good and it's fun to open. But you know, it always says, the boxes always say like you get a relic or an auto. Yeah. You know you're getting a relic, and you know it's not going to be like a real relic, and it's going to be a relic you don't want. So you're just kind of in there for the experience and hoping you pull. There's an auto like hidden in there. Maybe
at the last Cards HQ trade night, they were running a special on boxes of 2023 Heritage High Number, which isn't a particularly loaded product, but they were running a special on it for like $39 a box, hobby box, and then I get like a 5% discount for being a SEI HQ employee, so I like knocked that off. I bought 3 boxes of it. I finally hit a real one, like just a regular blue ink. I finally hit a real one. I've opened like 15 hobby boxes of Heritage over the years, going back to 2019, and I've never hit a real one. It was somebody, I don't even remember who it was. It was like somebody it was a nobody, but I was excited nonetheless.
Yeah, there's like, so one of the things I like, Heritage is a cool product, but I feel like it's the ultimate, like just sit back and let other people open it and then kind of pick off like the bit, because there are some hidden, like beautiful gem cards in here. Like the black refractors, for example, are beloved in the hobby, and like they really have some gravitas to them, and they are gorgeous. They're really, really cool. We did a blabbing on a Thursday live talking about how many gold refractors there are of rookies for 2023. And a bunch of people were like, you don't want those. You want the Heritage Black refractor. Like that became sort of like a running theme in like the hour and a half of our show is people talking up Heritage Blacks. And they're great. I've never pulled one. I pulled one refractor. It was Kurt Suzuki. I don't understand how he made the checklist, but that's neither here nor there. But those Black refractor rookies especially those are phenomenal. Those are great cards.
And if you get even luckier, the gold refractors are amazing. And they're numbered to 5 out of this set. And they're some of my favorite cards in all of Heritage. And good luck finding those. Even for a player collector like myself, I do not have a Billy Butler gold Heritage. And I don't know if I ever will. I have multiple super refractors from Topps Chrome, but I've still yet to see a gold refractor from Heritage of any year. So
that brings up a good point. Somebody ran a poll like last week on Instagram asking if anybody else finds it harder to find cards serial numbered to like 3 to 5 than it is to find one of ones. And it's like, yes, for some reason I have like Drummond cards and other things in the PC that I can't find the like numbered to 5 stuff, but the one of ones show up.
Yeah, I've only seen a handful of Freeman gold refractors. I think he first showed up in like 2014, maybe was his first Chrome. Never seen that one in a gold. I think there's a 2023 up for bids right now, and I think there's a 2019 on eBay for a really high price. But you know, I'm not going to get that set together like that. I know that's not going to happen. Yeah. But another thing Heritage has that I really like is, as Ty just mentioned, they have real one autos, but the red ink autos, I feel like we need to spend some time talking about how really cool these are.
Yeah, red ink autographs every year. I believe they're numbered to the set year that it's supposed to have been released on. So like with Soto and Acuna and Ohtani, it was 1969. So it is numbered to 69. And then every year it just increases by 1. Very similar like the black set from, Flagship, where you get the black Flagship parallel. So the red ink autographs are great. You have the blue Heritage autographs. So let's say, again, sticking with Juan Soto, not numbered, all on card, which is one great thing about Heritage versus other sets, all on card, which is rare. Even the dual autographs are all on card. And the only parallel you have of those is the red ink autograph. When it first came out, I believe in 2003 or 2004, like in those couple of years, they released red ink autos. They weren't numbered. And then very quickly they became serial numbered. But if you're able to get a red ink, they are some of the most sought after autographs in all of sports cards. And I think for very good reason, because it has the continuity. They have not been killed by parallels. It's just those two. The moment more colored autographs come out is going to be a very sad day if that happens. So,
yeah, hopefully never. But yeah, I hear people say that we're in like a junk slab era or a junk parallel era, and those are definitely true. But we're also in like a junk autograph era. There's autos and everything, and there's so many Chrome sets with autos. So if there's a rookie you want, he's got a Topps Chrome auto. He might have a Topps Chrome update auto. He's got a Bowman Chrome rookie auto, a Bowman's best rookie auto, a finest rookie auto. The list goes on. But they're only about 60 to 70 red ink Topps Heritage autos, and they jump out. And I do think that, like, again, this personal opinion, I think as we go through and the years go by, I think these cards are going to get more and more sought after because they do. To me, they really jump out more than like a Topps Chrome rookie auto. Like Scott was saying, full of parallels. There's probably like 3,000 of each player.
At least
at like 70, red ink autos that are great. And let's not even speak into the void that they might release another ink color. We don't need that.
Green parallel.
I have one red ink auto in my collection, and it's a Paul Goldschmidt 2019.
Cool.
I was like, I got to have a red ink, and I'm usually priced out of the rookies that I care anything about. So I went with the Goldschmidt. It matched nicely with the Cardinals, and that was awesome.
Yeah, there's like big names in the set too. It's not just the rookies. Like I talk about this a lot, but Cardboard Showcase on Instagram has the full red ink run of Mike Trout's, and he'll post a picture of them all together when he gets the new one each year, and it's so cool to see all the different images, all with that red ink. Like that looks great. I'd love to do that for Freeman, but the prices of these things just they don't seem to be coming down. They don't seem to be coming down.
Who did you say does that?
Cardboard Showcase.
Oh yeah, Cardboard Showcase. Yeah, that's a great account.
Yes. But yeah, I love these red ink cards. I do think that like we worry about fading with autographs. And I feel like with the Heritage, like that paper stock, I feel like it's less likely to fade than a Chrome card. I don't know. Do I have that backwards? But
no, you're right on. The red inks are interesting because they kind of go pink. They can go pink on you really easily, but at least the blues, they hold better than I would argue any other card under the same circumstance. And they always present very well. The one thing you kind of can get with Heritage that some people don't like is the ink may match the player's uniform. They don't really put like a little box, like the white box you see in Chromium cards. So I had a Mookie red ink rookie auto, and you couldn't even see the signature. You maybe see like part of it because his Red Sox red uniform, you couldn't see a lot. So that's one negative. But yeah, they hold the cards so well on the paper stock. And I think in 70, 80 years, if anyone cares about baseball cards at that point, Heritage are going to be the ones that actually stand the test of time.
Yeah, I agree. I love the red inks. It's interesting that there's a color match that's bad.
Yeah.
Like a color match auto that doesn't work.
Do you guys know of any like people who are primary vintage collectors who also really like Heritage? Like, is that a thing? I would imagine it would be if there's like a thing where somebody is primarily likes older cards that if they were to gravitate towards something modern, it would be Heritage. But I don't know of anybody personally who that's true of.
Yeah, I don't either, but it does make sense. Like,
so let us know in the comments if that's you.
Yeah, please let us know if that's you.
And if you like,
favorite sets are.
If you like vintage and you kind of want to dabble in modern, these are the best cards to do so because you can mix what you love with the modern aspect of the on-card autographs. And the great thing is with Heritage, like I'm looking at the checklist right now, you brought that up, Chris. We have players like Billy Williams, Fergie Jenkins, Johnny Bench, Mike Schmidt, Rod Carew. It says Rodney Carew, kind of fun to see the long names on here. Burt Blyleven. These are all players that are in these sets, and generally you can get really good deals on them. And so if you really want to go after a specific player on this specific set that you think would be great, really great product to do so. So, and let me
I have two of the absolute favorite cards in my collection are Heritage cards, and I will segue into one of the things I most look forward to seeing when Heritage gets released are the dual autos that come out.
Oh yeah,
they do a really good job of taking like a Hall of Famer on a team and combining them with like a younger star. So, for example, this year, one of the best pairings I saw, and I don't think this pairing exists on a Topps card before this, but it's Bobby Witt and George Brett. And that's a badass card. Like I haven't seen one of those come up yet on eBay, but that's just gotta look awesome. And if you're a Royals fan, first of all, my apologies for the last 5 years, but if you're a Royals fan and you collect cards, that's gotta be near the top of your wish list, I would think.
Definitely. Yeah. So let me share my screen with you real quick. I want to just show you a couple of these red inks. So very interesting thing. The way that Heritage has worked is they had high number sets. So this is a high number set right here of Mookie. This is what I was talking about. You can't even see the B for bets and you lose a lot of it. So for some people that bugs them having it that way. And then also, but they can look great. So if I scroll up, I have an Arenado. Like it can present very, very well with the red ink and it can stand out. So it's one of those cool things. Like even the Soto, it kind of gets lost in his uniform, right? So that can be a negative, but I just wanted to show because we talked about it.
Yeah, it's almost too bad Soto didn't sign across his shoulder instead of across his waist, but that's very nitpicky. There's also I was just looking at the list. There's also a Jim Palmer, Grayson Rodriguez duel, and a Robin Yount, Christian Yelich. And a Mike Schmidt, Bryce Harper, which is cool. I know that combo is on a couple Stadium Club cards as well.
Yeah.
But, if you're a Phillies fan, I don't see why you just buy them all. Like, you just have to get the next one.
Yeah. Heritage is fun because it is truly one of those sets where you can get the most random cool cards, right? And so, Chris, I know you brought up before we started recording even the celebrity cut autographs. So do you want to go over that real quick?
Yeah, they have this like really random thing in the checklist. They do celebrity cut autos, and they're all one of one. So they will probably pop up, relatively soon after release, and then absolutely never, ever, ever be seen again. So hold on, let me just pull we were just talking about him. There was a Mick Jagger recently sold. There's an Olivia Newton-John, Margaret Thatcher, the Elvis Presley one of one. That's got to be pretty valuable. Jack Nicholson, Muhammad Ali. Paul Newman, your mom would love that card. Mother's Day is coming up. Steven Spielberg, Gerald Ford, David Bowie, Burt Reynolds, Bill Gates. Like it's a really interesting list, and I wonder how many of those cards we'll actually ever see. But it's just kind of like a little niche thing. I did really quick. If you can make my screen bigger, I just wanted to show. Oh,
I was just going to show this. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah,
this is the Mick Jagger cut auto. There is one, like this is the visual. The card itself, I think, is a little underwhelming, but at the same time, I guess they have to fit this giant auto in there. And this card sold for $2,100, which is a pretty good price. So.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I don't know if you would want, if you're designing a card, do you want a smaller auto and a picture of Mick Jagger? That big bold auto looks pretty cool though. It just doesn't really feel like a card.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But I really quick, I just want to show you my two favorite Heritage cards. So the first one is a dual auto of Fred McGriff and Freddie Freeman, numbered out of 25. By the way, holding this card in my hand, about minute 4, I realized they have the same first name. It had never occurred to me that Fred and Freddie were the same name. Like I see them a lot, but for some reason that did not click. And then this is easily a top 5, if not top 1 card in my collection.
Yeah,
the Freeman Hank Aaron. This card is just it's really cool. It's very special. I love it, but it's one of those things like I have to keep it in a dark box because I do not want those autos like this.
Oh yeah.
But anyway. But yeah, so don't just dismiss Heritage because you see that $50 hobby box price. Like there's some really cool stuff in there. Oh, we didn't talk about the variations. Ty, do you own any throwbacks?
Throwbacks are one we need to, definitely talk about.
No, I don't think I do. Although I am admittedly sorting a lot of cards and remembering I have cards that I forgot I had. But no, I don't think I do. I know that's one that EFIS Pitch is big on, and certain others are really into the throwbacks, and they're cool. They're rare.
Yeah, some of the images are great.
Yeah.
Especially like some of the older ones. Like EFIS Pitch has the run of all the Bryce Harpers, and they look really cool together. I think there's some of the like the Negro League jersey is 1 year. So I mean, those cards are great, and those are really, really, really hard to find. I don't know what the pack odds are, but I'm sure it's 4 digits.
I was just Baseball Cardpedia, they kind of will give you the full checklist, do everything there, and they give you an idea of how many are made. And what they said for the 2024 was only 35, and historically it's probably lower than that. But they go for huge premiums, especially with player collectors. This is like really the chance to like really hit it big is with these throwbacks, because you might not even know you have them. There's 35 made, but I guarantee if kids are opening packs, they will have no idea it's any different, which is one of the issues with Heritage. And if you're able to land one of them, especially at a high grade, it's worth a pretty penny. Let me show my screen and we can look at some of them real quick.
Yeah, the Jordan Alvarez rookie one is an absolutely gorgeous card. It's like one of his best images.
Right here. Here's that. Yeah. So when they say throwback, they literally just use the vintage jersey of the team. That's the throwback aspect. Here's the Bryce Harper from 2013. Not a rookie, but still they can go for big money. I know these are what they're listed for. If we actually go to sold listings, we can see the most expensive, which is always fun.
Oh man, that Ohtani.
So the Bobby Witt rookie, we just went for about 2,000. This Ohtani went for 3,000. So it's pretty crazy to see what they can bring in. Not to change the topic, but I did want to show this, which is pretty cool. Here's George Brett's rookie for 1975. They released a George Brett Real One autograph based off the rookie. So like they do things like this too that can create more value than just a random George Brett autograph, which I think is really fun that Topps does this type of stuff. So if you're a George Brett collector, here's one of the coolest cards outside of his rookie year, in my opinion, you can get. So,
God, that card is really cool. The colors just explode off that card. The red ink, yeah, that's awesome. I assume there's got to be a Robin Yount as well, right?
I'm assuming. Let me look.
Is Jeff gonna? Would Jeff go after the Yelich Robin Yount duel? Is that?
I mean, I'm sure he would. If one popped up, he'd watch it, and consider. I just don't think. I feel like with Yelich, for a Brewers fan, like you love him, but you're also frustrated at the same time.
Yes,
he was so incredible, and now just isn't quite that good anymore. And I can see that being a little frustrating. But
I mean, at least it's not a Ryan Braun Yelich dual auto. That might be more frustrating.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. Good point.
But yeah, so Heritage, great set. I do want to point this out, the downside of Heritage. Let me pull this up. It can be a really brutal set when it comes to values in the long run, especially the high number set. Here's 2021 Topps Heritage. This set is incredibly weak for the veterans and incredibly weak for the rookies. So Kelenic is the best rookie in this set, I would say. But at the same time, you can get a full case of this. Go throwback hunting, go dual autograph hunting. for 500 bucks, 450, 500 shipped for 12 boxes. Pretty fun. But just know you're going to get out of these 12 boxes 10 relic cards worth $3 each. So it looks like a great deal, but you still might just be sitting on a pile of base cards worth 50 bucks.
Yeah, I would say your odds of breaking even are like 1 in 1,000.
But it's one of those things where if you're just like addicted to ripping wax, you can basically get these at like $35, $40 a box for a hobby box versus a blaster. It seems like the better deal. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that's a good place to end. Any final thoughts on Heritage or anything else before we end this episode?
No.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe if you wouldn't mind. We appreciate it. Helps you see our videos if you enjoy them. Helps others see our videos as well. We also do release on Spotify. If that's more of your speed, you actually can just listen to this. You'll miss out on the cool visuals that we share, but you can also check us out there. All right. Other than that, we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.